Yeah, I mean, every win's pleasing. So it's not. Yeah, but I think just the fact that we lost the first Test match and had to come bounce back from there. Had to do it with a slightly different team to the one we probably expected to start the series with maybe a few months ago. To be put under pressure at various stages, especially in the first 3 Test matches, the first 4 Test matches, and then to be able to bounce back from that, it does make you feel really proud and happy for the way the team's evolved, the team's grown, and just happy for the boys. I think in pressure situations, we've really found people to step up and be able to execute their skills to the top of their ability. I really hope money is not going to be the incentive to play Test cricket. It's just nice. It's just nice that the hard work and how tough Test cricket can be is being recognized. So I wouldn't see it as an incentive to make people play Test cricket. I really hope not. I hope we'll never come down to that. But I think it's just probably it's really nice to see that it's a recognition that this is a tough format and it's a hard format, and it takes a special person to do what Ashwin has done. Play 100 Test matches. You go through a lot. And rightly so. And you guys celebrated Ashwin today. You've celebrated Johnny Bairstow and Ben Stokes a few games ago, and because I think all of you recognize how challenging and tough this format is, and what it takes to be able to have consistency and to be able to survive the test of time in this format. We don't celebrate 100 T20s in the same way, do we? So it's nice that the BCCI is, I think, recognizing that, that it's just a reward. I think it's not an incentive. I think it's a reward. But no, I still really hope. I mean, looking at the guys who came in and played in this series, I think everyone wants to play Test cricket. I think people want to play Test cricket. It's just a recognition of what you need to be able to do to survive and play in Test cricket. That sometimes, we need to. It's only when you get here and you realize sometimes it's quite tough, and it's not easy, but it's extremely satisfying. And no, I still think there are people who, and especially series like this and Test matches like the ones we've seen in the last 4-5 months, and if they're well supported and well documented by people like you, I'm sure that there'll be a lot of people still wanting to play Test cricket. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, obviously, defeats in India have been rare, and I just would like to acknowledge and credit the players for that. It's not easy. I think sometimes we just take it for granted. And I think what is especially heartening is over the last 10 years or the decade or so that India has had this dominance and has been able to string together this, successful series and not lost a lot of Test matches, in spite of the fact, and I say this in spite of the fact that the exposure that the foreign players get in this country in the last decade compared to what they would get in the 90s or the 80s or even in the early 2000s before the IPL is not comparable. I mean, a lot of the foreign players who come here spend a lot of time in this country. A lot of them are here for 2 months a year in India. I know it's a different format, but it's about familiarity. It's about getting used to these conditions. It's about knowing the country. And in the past, a lot of the foreign players and teams didn't have that opportunity. We don't get that opportunity. Our young players don't spend 2 months in Australia, before they go there. A lot of the English players or the Australian players spend a lot of time here in these conditions. They know people. And so that's made it a lot easier. But in spite of that, the fact that we've been able to maintain our record and maintain that standard is a real tribute to the players and the way they've performed and the skills that they're continuing to show. So it's not easy. Sometimes I find people just take it for granted. But I think that we need to also recognize the quality that people are putting in and the hard work that people are putting in to maintain these standards when it's getting tougher and tougher to be able to do that. Yeah, it was really good to see them step up. It was terrific to see the young guys come into the team and step up. So, and all of them, in their own way, put in some performances, played a part for this team, and which was really heartening to see. Again, like I think mentioned it in one of the interviews here earlier, I just like to give credit to Ajit and his team as well. As a coach and sometimes as a captain, we don't get to see domestic cricket. We have to rely on Ajit and his team to tell us who are the guys in domestic cricket who they feel can step up and fill in the gaps when required. And they've been spot on, and they've done a terrific job and guided us in the right direction. We pick the playing 11 finally, but they're the ones who sort of guide us when it comes to the domestic cricketers. So sometimes they don't get the credit they deserve as selectors, and I'd like to really just acknowledge their contribution as well. And just also the importance of A tours. All of these guys were just recently playing an A tour against England. That really helped us also to see which of the guys performing, doing well currently. And all those guys just playing came in and were able to perform in this series as well. So that's actually a very important part. I've been involved in that process, the NCA, some years ago. And I know how critical a piece that is in our system, because we've got a lot of domestic cricket. We play a lot of Ranji Trophy and all of that. But I think the A team is that perfect bridge between these two standards, and it really helps you sometimes identify the players who are in form and who can do it. So, yeah, I think obviously the guys have done well, but there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes, at the domestic level that needs to be recognized. It's been tough on Kuldeep. I'll be very honest with you. It's not been easy on Kuldeep. It's not been, he's bowling at a time where there are some really, legends of the game who are playing as spinners. Both Jadeja and Ashwin are absolute legends of the game, and even Aksar is a fantastic performer. When he's played for us, his record is absolutely exceptional, apart from the fact that he bats really well as well. So it's not been always easy on Kuldeep. I mean, the last 6 or 7 years, since he got 5 here, I think in 2017 it was, he's hardly played a lot of first class sort of red ball cricket, and not played a lot. So it's not been easy. So given in the context of all of that, for him to come into this series and perform the way he has been absolutely superb. And he's literally forced us to make that by the sheer quality of his bowling. We've had to keep Aksar out of the team. He got his opportunity when Jadeja got injured, and he showed us the importance of having someone like him and what the X factor that he can bring to the team. And that was shown right all the way through the series. The fact that he's worked extremely hard on his batting has been an absolute bonus and has been critical for us in a couple of the test matches. So that's been fantastic. What happens when we go overseas, I think that's something we'll have to just take it by ear, and we'll have to see what happens when we get there. Ashwin, 500 wickets in 100 test matches sometimes, doesn't play in those games. So, I think, when you go abroad, we unfortunately don't get wickets that people allow us to play more than one spinner. Sometimes we're playing without us. There are teams currently playing who don't even play a spinner on wickets like that. Those are the kind of wickets that are being prepared. So sometimes it's tough. I think we dominated this test match. I'd like to believe that I think we were in control of this test match all the way through. But the first 4 test matches, I think, there were periods in the game where I think they did put us under a little bit of pressure. There were particular days, especially the third day, I think, at Rajkot, and the third day at Ranchi, when we came there in the morning. Probably England had the ascendancy in both those days. And I think the heartening thing for me was just how well I think our experienced players stepped up in that situation. So if you look at all of those situations, particularly those 2 situations, England came here with a very experienced batting lineup. They had 3 guys playing 100 test matches. So their weakness, or their inexperience, I won't say weakness because I think their spinners have performed really well, but their inexperience was in their bowling. The experience was in their batting. And they had the ascendancy with bat in hand at that point of time. And we needed to respond. And our experience was in the bowling. And we won those contests in that particular situation. So our experience and our nous at that particular moment triumphed their experience. And I think that for me was a critical part in the series. I don't like to compare. I have not even been part of the last 10, 15 years. And I don't like to compare teams. I don't like to compare series. I don't like to compare eras. And I never like to do that. I just like to enjoy what is in front of us. This was a hard-fought series, a tough series. We had to earn it. I'm really proud of the boys for earning it. And I just want to enjoy this and not even worry about whether it was better than the last one in South Africa or not. I really don't know. I don't compare, Vimal. I never compare series. I don't compare the past. Yeah, I mean, I think we've always wanted to be ensure that we've got the best resources to be able to take 20 wickets. I think that's been the bottom line of what me and Rohit have always spoken about. That who are our best, what is the best resources we have to be able to take 20 wickets? I think that's what wins you test matches, being able to take 20 wickets quickly and as quickly as possible. So that's something that we've always been clear about. Yeah, it was the safer option would have been probably to strengthen the batting a little bit there. Like you rightly said, when I watched Akshar Patel walk out at 6, I remember looking at Vikram and thinking, geez, man, VVS Lakshman used to walk out at that position. But, with due respects to Akshar, he's a lovely guy, a lovely player. But it was a braver option. And yes, we had to take a call there. And I'm really glad we were brave and we went with the braver option and we decided to back the fact that we knew we needed 20 wickets to win the series and trust our batsmen to do the job when required. And I think that's paid off. Yeah, I mean, they're always in the mix. Everyone who's playing cricket in domestic cricket is in the mix. And it's not that... I don't think we've ever... I think firstly, I don't decide contracts, right? Contracts are decided by, the selectors and the board. I don't even know what the criteria are. I'm involved in... People ask me my opinion on the 15 and me and Rohit select 11. That's how it works. We've never discussed whether somebody has a contract or not has a contract, whether he's going to be selected in the 15. There are enough examples of people playing different formats of the game, whether they have contracts or not. I don't even know sometimes who the list of the contract players is when we make these decisions, discussions on the 15 or the playing 11 for that matter. So no one's out of the picture, no one's out of the mix. It's just a question of hopefully getting back, getting fit, playing cricket and forcing the selectors to pick them again. Yeah, I think it's just nice to see the confidence of the young sort of India in some ways. So young boys who have a lot of confidence in their ability. A lot of exposure. I think exposure certainly does help. A lot of these boys, when I look at some of them who are 23 and the kind of exposure they've had to say, when I was 23 and the first time I went to England, and the amount of cricket I had played, I'd only played Ranji Trophy cricket and a few A-tours here and there. And just the amount of exposure these young boys have by the time they're 22, 23 and the amount of cricket they've played, I think certainly does help. It makes them a lot more confident. They are a lot more confident. They have a lot more belief in their abilities. From our perspective, it's just about trying to keep things quite relaxed in the dressing room. I do believe that it's very hard to get into an Indian team. You have to really earn it. There's a lot of competition. People, it's tough to get into a 15 for India. So if you get into the 15 and you earn the right to get into an Indian team, then you deserve to be there, and you'll not be treated differently whether you're playing your first match or whether you're playing your 100th game. I think from a perspective of sort of being treated in the dressing room and having a voice, if you are in the team, you belong in the team. And I think just that's the kind of environment I like to create because I truly believe they've earned the right to be there. Of course, how long, what happens in the future is, of course, they're up to them and their performances and what they need to do from there on in. But, just recognizing the fact that it's tough getting there and just trying to, in some ways, recognize that we'll try and support them and back them as much as we possibly can. It's not possible to give everyone the same number of chances. You can't put down a number of, say, I'll give everyone 16 chances or 14 or 3 chances or 4. It doesn't work like that. But just, I think just the confidence that they'll probably not be judged on each and every game maybe helps. That's the way I look at things.